back to you.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Karina, and for having me today. So as Karina said, I'm a PM on the Azure Global Gov team. And with me today, I have Carlo Wallstadt, who is an engineer from CloudFit. In today's demo, Carlo and I are going to be taking you all through a DevSecOps solution that Azure Global has developed in partnership with CloudFit. The solution seamlessly configures, deploys, and governs an easy-to-use DevSecOps environment in Azure. We're going to show you how that all works a little bit later, but first, we're going to start with a high-level overview. So for the sake of the demo, we're calling this solution OpenShift in a hardened Zero Trust Azure environment. This essentially means our solution is a production-ready ecosystem that's powered by Azure Cloud and Red Hat OpenShift technologies. So with our solution, we've aimed to help app developers and security admins achieve DevSecOps in a couple of cutting-edge ways. Let's take a look at the benefits here. There's threefold. So the first is that the solution accelerates speed of deployment and delivery. This is really the dev part of DevSecOps. Developers get to focus on writing code and building and delivering application workloads at speed. The second benefit of the solution is that it provides an advanced security posture. So this is the sec part of DevSecOps. In our hierarchical Zero Trust solution, each level of the production architecture inherits security from the level below it. So this results in a continuously hardened environment from infra all the way up to the workload running on top of it all. So we really do ensure that security extends throughout your digital estate. And lastly, the solution makes compliance easier to monitor and achieve. This is the ops part of DevSecOps, and it can be seriously time-consuming. Our entire DevSecOps environment is continuously defensible with 24-hour compliance checks against DoD requirements, which ensures limited or no drift. So this should greatly reduce operational overhead and allow your team to run their services 24/7 with confidence. Okay, now that we've gone over some of the benefits of the solution, let's dive into its architectural components and step through them a little bit. First, we have the base of the pyramid. This layer is the secure infrastructure layer. Developers and security admins are going to need strongly governed components like networking, storage, and monitoring that abide by the never trust, always verify, zero trust philosophy. When you leverage a zero trust model, you're able to ensure that every request into the architecture is inspected, authenticated, authorized before access is granted. So we're going to take you through the Azure blueprint for zero trust that we've developed. And this blueprint deploys and configures the secure baseline resources that you'll need as a developer and compliance guardrails to govern those resources, all with just a few Azure commands. Next, we have the middle layer of the pyramid. This layer is the container orchestration part of the architecture that deploys and manages Kubernetes nodes. Your compute solution also needs to be set up and leveraged in a secure way. So today, we're going to show you how to do that by taking you through a secure deployment of Red Hat OpenShift on Azure. This deployment that we've put together is unique in a couple of different ways. So first, it's fully automated and runs quickly with close to just one click. And second, it has hardening baked in, including a script that stigs all host OSs. So all of this neatly deploys on top of the Zero Trust blueprint, inheriting and building on its security, and allowing your architecture to remain compliant through and through. So lastly, we have the top layer, which is deploying your application workload. It's the fun part. After we have the bases of our pyramid orchestrated securely, meaning the groundwork, secure infrastructure, and the Kubernetes platform, it's time to deploy a secure workload on top. So we're going to show you how we can do this by pulling a trusted container image from Iron Bank, which is the DoD's central repository for hardened Docker images. And we're going to use that secure image to seamlessly deploy a basic web app. So with that high-level introduction, let's move into the demo. First, we'll start with the Zero Trust Architecture Blueprint. Azure Blueprint is a technology that defines and implements a repeatable set of Azure resources that adheres to an organization's standards. So we've built the Zero Trust architecture blueprint to specifically adhere to the DoD standards. So if you're working with applications that need to comply with FedRAMP High or DoD Impact Level 4 requirements, or if you just want to improve the general security posture of your cloud deployments, this blueprint's designed to help you get there faster. So first, let's go to the Azure portal where we'll deploy and start using the blueprint. A quick call out that we're working in Azure Government today, but the solution can work in other secure Azure cloud fabrics or even Azure Commercial. So here we're in the Gov portal. We're going to navigate to Azure Cloud Shell to import the Zero Trust architecture blueprint. Cloud Shell is a feature of the Azure portal where you get your own command line terminal right there embedded in the web browser. So we can start here by running a few commands. The first command clones the Azure ATO toolkit repository into your Azure Cloud Drive. So this repo has all of the blueprint materials in it. And here's the source where we're pulling from. This is a public GitHub repo that we've made available for customers to easily grab and use the blueprint. It's called the ATO toolkit repo. All right, let's go back to the Cloud Shell. Next, we're going to show you a command that deploys the blueprint into our Azure Gov account. So all we had to do to run it is enter a few parameters like our Azure Gov subscription ID, as you can see here. Okay, let's go view the blueprint now. We're going to close the Cloud Shell, and then we're going to navigate to the Blueprints blade. And we're going to click Blueprint Definitions. And here we're going to see our Zero Trust architecture blueprint pop up. So let's check out what was deployed and configured from the blueprint. If we scroll down, we're going to see all the resources that were deployed from the blueprint. The blueprint's made up of ARM templates or Azure Resource Manager templates, which deploy and configure the baseline set of Azure resources that you need. So some of the resources you can see here are Azure Firewall, Azure Key Vault, Azure Log Analytics, and a couple others. But you might be wondering how the configs on these resources are continuously enforced, like how we actually help you ensure that there's little or no compliance drift after deployment. So notice there's also a bunch of Azure policies on the top here. Azure policies are another type of Azure resource that can audit and enforce certain resource behaviors. So let's go take a look now at some of the Azure policies that were deployed so we can see the extent of auditing implemented from them. So we're going to click into our subscription. And then we're going to go to the policies blade and we're going to click on compliance. So beyond point-in-time compliance, the Zero Trust Blueprint allows for continuous monitoring and maintenance of Azure resource behavior. It deploys these Azure policies that have been mapped to NIST 853 security controls and related compliance portfolios like FedRAMP High and IL4, like I mentioned earlier. So we're going to click into DoD Impact Level 4 now. Here, you can see the various Azure policies that specifically map to DoD's Impact Level 4 requirements. Now let's talk a little bit about our overall compliance level, how we can understand it and improve it. So you might have noticed that our compliance level is not at 100%. We actually intentionally created the environment for the demo this way so you can see realistic examples of non-compliance. In a perfect world, what you deploy is going to be fully secure and it won't rock the boat of compliance too much. But realistically, as you make new deployments in your architecture, your compliance level may fluctuate a little bit and it might not always be at 100%. So with the Zero Trust Blueprint, our architecture and any deployments made inside of it are proactively being monitored against the same set of holistic Zero Trust principles. So this is building security from infrastructure up. And if that proactive monitoring does fish out that your new deployments aren't compliant, you can get back into compliance fast with Azure policy. So let's dive into one or two of these policies to see just how easy it is to remediate issues and improve your overall compliance level percentage. So here in the search bar, let's search for and find one specific policy that audits for us, DDoS, and let's click into the policy. So this policy says at the top of the screen that we need to enable denial of service protection standard service because the free service capabilities are limited against IL4 requirements. So now we understand what's breaking compliance. Now we're going to go figure out how to remediate the issue on our architecture and get back into compliance quickly. So let's click into the first resource showing at the bottom of the screen by clicking the 3 dots on the right-hand side. And then we'll click View Resource. Now on the left-hand side, you'll see DDoS protection, and we'll click that. And finally, as the policy suggested for us to do, we'll switch from basic to standard. And for the DDoS protection plan, we'll select the only option there, and we'll click Save. Okay, so now let's go back to our policy using our breadcrumb trail. Let's click DoD Impact Level 4. Policies refresh automatically every 24 hours. So after some time, you'd see this non-compliant red X turn to a green check mark, and your overall compliance level percentage would also increase. So that's one way you can make compliance remediations, but there's another way you can do it in Azure too. So let's go back to the policy blade through our breadcrumb trail and click the remediation tab. So with the DDoS issue, we manually remediated the compliance issue. Another way to fix compliance in Azure is by using something called a remediation task. This is a cool feature of Azure Policy that allows you to automatically remediate a policy issue directly from this central remediation area without having to dive into any specific non-compliant resource. So your agency can create as many automated remediation tasks as needed to improve compliance in bulk, even faster too. Okay, so we're at the end of part 1 now. So our Zero Trust Architecture Blueprint has successfully built the framework for NIST 853 secure infrastructure, and we know it's proactively monitoring our environment for non-compliance. So now the next step is deploying our Kubernetes solution on top of it. So we're going to now deploy hardened OpenShift into this pre-hardened Zero Trust environment. We're using OpenShift today because we've paid attention to customer feedback and we know how many government workloads choose OpenShift for their Kubernetes flavor of choice. However, we just want to point out that our Azure Zero Trust architecture can be used with any open source flavor of Kubernetes, or really even any IaaS solution for that matter. So regardless of the type of workloads you choose to implement, the Zero Trust Blueprint can ease that path into compliance for you. So now let's head to VS Code to kick off the OpenShift deployment. So we've developed an automated install using a PowerShell script. We're actually in the process of making this PowerShell script and others associated readily available to customers. By changing just a few parameters here, we can start executing the deployment. So you can see that we need to enter in our Azure subscription ID here up on line 27 where the parameter is currently empty. Let's go to the Azure portal to grab our subscription ID. All we need to do is click on subscriptions in our breadcrumb trail, and we're going to copy that subscription ID now. And we can flip back to VS Code and paste that back on line 27. So this script is going to take several minutes to run, and we're not going to make you wait for all of it. So we'll fast forward a little bit, and we'll show you an instance we've already successfully provisioned previously. So let's go to the OpenShift console to see that. Here we're on the OpenShift landing page. Now we're going to go up to the application console area to see the applications that have been deployed. So here you'll see at the top of the screen our fresh default install of OpenShift, the deployments from the script we just showed you. So you'll see this doesn't have any workloads present just yet. We're going to get to this in the next part of the demo. So just to reiterate, in part 2, we ran through our single PowerShell script, which deployed OpenShift into our Azure environment. And these OpenShift resources that were created are also in the Azure Gov portal and are going to be proactively monitored by the same set of Zero Trust principles enforced by the Azure Blueprint from part 1 as well. So we now have our infrastructure and container orchestration set up securely across Azure and Red Hat OpenShift. So now it's finally time to deploy our workload on top. So in our last step, we're going to be taking a container image from the DoD's central repository of trusted and hardened images. And we're going to use that to create our containerized application. So you may have heard this repo commonly referred to as Iron Bank, Repo 1, or the DCC SCR. So we're going to go there now to grab our Docker image. So here we're on the Iron Bank page, and all of these container images that are posted have been run through the DoD's hardening pipeline. So they've been scanned and remediated by vulnerability assessment tools like Anchor, which you're actually going to see another awesome demo on later tonight. But yeah, for today, we're going to use the Node.js image. So let's click into the open source area, and then we'll hit the Node.js page. If you scroll down a little bit, yeah. So if you scroll down on this page, you'll see that you can download the Node.js tar file. But for sake of time, we've previously downloaded this image. To verify the chain of custody here and show the image did actually come from Iron Bank, we're going to run a little script following the guidance on Iron Bank to match the manifest from our image to the image there. So let's go to the terminal and VS Code to run that. Okay, so we'll kick that off now. And you'll see that this script is comparing our image's checksum against the checksum from the Node.js image from Iron Bank. And you can see that the checksums match. So we verified that the image is in fact from the trusted Iron Bank repository. So now we'll use this secure image to containerize and deploy our application workload. So you'll see that we're loading the Docker image, tagging it, and pushing it to Azure Container Registry. Now we can build the application from ACR where the Docker image is stored. Lastly, we'll deploy our application to OpenShift. Azure Gov Demo is what we've named this new OpenShift project for our app. So you can see that there. So now that we've use this trusted image to deploy our application, let's go back to the OpenShift console to check that our new project was created successfully. So here we can see the Azure Gov Demo projects now showing in the application console as of just a few seconds ago, and that the name here matches the project name we just showed you in VS Code. So now let's go see what was actually deployed. Let's click into that project. Let's expand that. And we'll navigate to the route area. Here you'll see our web address link, which is going to take us to our website. So let's go there to see our successful deployment. Okay, great. So our web app has successfully and securely deployed, and it's live. So that was the last part of our demo. So let's kind of end by going over the 3 different parts we've showed you tonight. So we've gone through the journey of getting an app into production with DoD-specific principles in mind, like visible compliance and defensibility. And we've landed at a secure workload, sitting on top of secure OpenShift, sitting on top of secure infrastructure in Azure. This is what modern DoD software development looks like using Azure's DevSecOps Zero Trust architecture. Now, as you saw in the demo, applying the Zero Trust architecture was easy with our Azure Blueprint, and it didn't affect any of our development work at all. It was protecting us without changing anything that we were doing as developers. In fact, it actually made it more efficient and faster for us because advanced security and compliant operations were baked in from the very beginning of the development lifecycle. So it allowed us to focus on what mattered, which is developing and delivering our application. So we hope we were able to get across tonight how heavily invested and passionate we are about accelerating this developer journey. With the work we've done on increasing Azure Cloud Native capabilities, like building out Azure Blueprints and Azure policies, to building DevSecOps solutions like the one we showed you today, we're really going all in on expediting time to innovation for our government customers. And by reducing effort for compliance without compromising security or operational speed, we're helping accelerate delivery of mission critical code. All of this meaning that most importantly, we're helping accelerate movement of technical advancement into the warfighter's hands. So that's what we had for today. I know there was a lot there, so thanks for following along. And yeah, hope you enjoyed our time with us.
Nirali, we do have a question.
Okay.
This was about blueprints. So how much of this blueprint carries over into serverless ecosystems?
So I'm not too sure on exactly how it correlates to serverless technology specifically. Maybe
Hey.
Zach has, yeah.
Yeah, this is Zach. So yeah, the blueprint is really securing the foundation. We are looking at a V2 as we look at both Red Hat, OpenShift, and our Azure Kubernetes and other things like that about how we bring forward both container policies and integrate them with the Azure policy engine. And that is some design work that is going on now to make sure that that integration is seamless, but it does not fully integrate today.
Okay, and then is this blueprint complementary to the existing NIST 800-53? R4 blueprint, I guess. Sorry.
Yeah, the Zero Trust blueprint builds on the 853 and does additional automation on top of that. And so we are working to bring that forward, but it is above and beyond.
Have you ever helped a client develop a business case for DevSecOps to convince their management to invest?
Why don't we hold that one for the panel?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, with that, I want to really thank Nirali on a great presentation.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here.
So next we have a demo on DevSecOps at full speed. Carol Moon and from CTO of CloudFit Software, and James Pedersen. He's the DevSecOps engineer of Anchor. So with that, take it away.